Yeah.
How do you do, or maybe not you or them, how do they do the matchmaking? Let's just say like Operation Underground Railroad, finding that survivor and saying, okay, this survivor needs to go with this dog,
Mhm.
right? Or this cat or whatever it is. How do they make that marriage happen?
So what happens is a lot of these so I don't just deal with the Operation Underground Railroad. It could be also, local places that deal
Hmm.
with, like, domestic abuse survivors, like children and women, even men out of domestic abuse situations, is that a lot of times these companies are not companies, but they're also nonprofits that host and house these survivors.
Right.
They will reach out to me and say, "Hey, I have a survivor that wants a dog." So then once then I what I do is I vet and make sure that the survivor, one, are they capable of taking care of the dog
Right.
after the
Right.
fact? Are they in a situation where they have a yard and
Mm.
if it's an apartment, a smaller dog, whatever, and do they have the finances to care? Because we don't
Right.
wanna we wanna make sure the dog's taken care of too.
Right.
Once we have that established, then we talk to the survivor and find out, are you looking for smaller dog, bigger dog? What are they kinda looking for? And then I will then call rescues and say, "Hey, do you have a 25-pound, dog right now?
Right.
Or do you have a dog that, is totally chill, that, is
Hmm.
nobody really wants because it's not playful," or,
Right.
different situations. And once we find that dog, then I will call my trainer, and a lot of times my trainer will actually call these rescues as well. And the trainer, the survivor, and the dog will all meet and make sure that it seems like it could be a match.
Okay.
Then the dog, if it is, will go home with the survivor right away. Then the trainer works with the survivor and the dog hand in hand
Mm.
because they want the survivor to be able to give the commands
Right.
so the dog gets used to the survivor and not the trainer.
Okay.
And so an emotional support versus therapy, a therapy dog is like your for the blind that can detect like if you're about to have a seizure,
Hmm.
those instances. Emotional support are more just like emotional support. They listen to sit, they walk beside you without a leash.
Hmm.
They're more there as your companion, but they're very well-behaved companion, aren't gonna, like, jump on
Right.
the person
Right.
that walks
Right.
through the front door. So that's the difference between emotional support and
Right.
therapy. These are not therapy dogs. That's a whole different animal.
And that
Literally.
and that's a good place for volunteers. So if you're out there and you're listening, you're saying, "How can I help?" And it may not be monetarily.
Mhm.
You could probably call some of these
Yep,
shelters and
yep.
things like that and try and make that match.
Absolutely, absolutely, or even calling local police departments or across the country and, "Hey, do you" so that's one and now we're switching gears again, but that's the first thing that gets cut in a police budget, is the canine vests. So it's
Mm.
not that the departments don't want to provide these vests, it's they don't have the funds to do so. So they rely on nonprofits such as myself for these funds. And you'll hear people like, "Oh, they don't care about their dogs," and, that has nothing to do with it. They do
Right.
care about the dogs,
Mhm.
but they're $1,300, and if they don't have the
Mhm.
funds, they don't have the
Right.
funds.
Right. So
So, yeah,
True.
yeah, absolutely.
I got bit by a retired canine.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
he was a suspect.
No, no, no. So, because my uncle owns a mechanic shop, and, the old guys come out and they like stand around, eat donuts and drink coffee. And one guy just brought a retired canine, and I went to pet it, and he bit
Oh,
my thigh.
they are crazy.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's supposed to be like.
Don't you know you're not supposed to
I
pet
did not know
strangers?
this.
You
I did
know,
Yeah.
not
well,
know.
my-
I was younger. It wasn't yesterday, so now a little more mature
Well,
than
and they're
that.
actually trained to go after the legs and the
Yeah.
There
arm.
you go. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
They will, yeah, like, and if you talk to an officer, a canine scares a suspect way more than
Then,
saying, "Hey, we got 30 guns on you right now." We got 1 canine and 30 guns. Like, they'll stop
Yeah.
for that canine because they are
Wow.
scared of these canines. And there was actually a situation that was really sad, and I believe if this dog had a vest, he may have survived, not for
Mhm.
sure. But it was a canine that just died about a week and a half ago. He was out of North Carolina, North or South Carolina, and he jumped over a fence and had the barbed wire, and it cut up his abdomen.
ah,
But these vests cover part of the
cover that.
abdomen.
Oh,
May
good.
not have help, but these vests are not just for ballistics, not just
Right.
for guns. They're for stab, punching, jumping. Like if they hit a wooden fence. I mean, it protects all
Hmm.
their vital organs. So they're very imperative to keep these dogs safe. Officers every day strap on their vest. Why do they strap on their vest? The same thing. And then you have some I had one officer, I'm not even gonna say where he was. They didn't I offered to give them vests and they didn't want them. And his philosophy was, well, if they're going to get shot, they're just going to get shot in the head anyway. So I'm thinking, so if your officer's just going to get shot, they're just going to shoot your officer in the head? What's the
Right.
difference?
Right.
Yeah.
Let's try to if we put a seatbelt on every day. Well, hopefully we do. Why do we put a seatbelt on? For the same exact reason. So these,
Prevention.
yeah, these, and you talked, now there are some canine officers that their dogs were not trained in the vest. And so to throw a vest on them now will be a little bit challenging because they are heavy.
Yeah.
And they do at times can hold them back from certain agility movements. So there are some officers that don't want them, and that's fine. But I would say 70, 80 to 90% of them do, and they're very grateful and they're very thankful for getting them.
Well, like you said, we need 4 or 5 right now.
Yes,
And that's just in
absolutely.
Tucson.
Yeah.
That's a big city. And
Yes.
wow. All right.